woman should ever have to justify why they've chosen to remain child-free by choice, but for shits and giggles, I'm going to go ahead and break down my top 10 list of reasons. I also want to note how important it is for child-free women like me to speak out. Motherhood is seen as the respectable, acceptable choice to make, and it's thought of as a non-negotiable, natural next step in adulthood. Child-free women are going against the grain, and we are heavily scrutinized and demonized because of it. I believe we deserve to have a voice, and we deserve mutual respect in society, even though we've opted out of the societal norm. Reason number 1, I cherish and value my freedom and flexibility above almost everything in my life. I absolutely love having autonomy over my day. I love going where I want, doing what I want, spending my money on what I want, eating what I want, watching what I want. I love having complete and total autonomy over my day with full freedom and flexibility. It is something that I have fought for. It is something I always knew I wanted since I was a small child. There's a reason I chose a career in journalism and writing. Being able to grab my laptop and hop on a flight and go wherever I want, whenever I want, that is what I fought for when I chose my career path. Freedom and flexibility has always been a top priority for me. I've always looked at having children as the complete opposite of having freedom and flexibility. There are plenty of parents who would disagree and say that they have just as much freedom and flexibility even though they have children, but running around after toddlers and crying babies and moody preteens and trying to wrangle up your kids while also trying to live your own life is simply not interesting to me. It's not something that's enticing to me. And although there are parents who still feel that they have freedom and flexibility with their kids, I don't feel that I would have the same level of freedom and flexibility and autonomy over my day that I have right now if I were to have children in this lifetime. On this note, before I move on to reason number 2, I also often think about how when people ask parents to describe their dream day often starts off with dropping the kids off at grandma and grandpa's house or dropping the kids off at daycare, and then they get to go do X, Y, Z. So it's often about getting the kids somewhere else that's safe, where they don't have to worry about childcare, and then they get to actually live their dream day. And for me, I get to live my dream day every day. If I choose to book a flight to New York City for the weekend, I can do that. If I choose to go on a date night to the nightclub with my husband tonight, I can do that. I don't have to worry about a babysitter. I really don't have to worry about much. And the freedom and flexibility that I have over my life is not coincidental. It wasn't by accident. It was 1,000% by design. It was intentional. I knew that I wanted to be able to live my life this way, and that's what I've chosen for myself. Reason number 2, have you seen the current state of our political climate? I don't really know if I need to elaborate too much on this one, but I'll just say this. It's definitely looking and feeling a little bit hopeless. When boomers were having kids, they saw this bright, blossoming future ahead of them, and so they thought that they were birthing kids into a society that was just going to be booming in the right direction. For millennials, it doesn't necessarily feel like we have the brightest future ahead. For boomers, it was easy to get jobs, pay for college education, buy homes, set up retirement plans, etc. But 66% of millennials don't have any retirement plans set aside because across the board, millennials get offered insultingly low salary rates. Our job market is just also atrociously so awful that millennials are going viral posting about the 1,000 job applications they sent off where they heard back from no one. And all these millennials are going viral talking about how often that they're getting ghosted when applying for jobs and interviewing for jobs and just trying to land a basic job position, even at an entry level. Pair that with our student loan debt and the rising cost of living, and it's extremely challenging. It costed many boomers less than $100,000 to buy their first home, but first homes are going for $250,000 now. For millennials, our salaries simply aren't keeping up. Our student loan debt is holding us back, and we only got into student loan debt because we thought we were doing the right thing by going to college. But our college degrees have largely screwed us over because across the board, we aren't being offered livable wages or salaries that we can live independently off of. Everything feels very dystopian and dysfunctional when I think about the world politically and economically. I wouldn't in good conscience bring a child into the world knowing all of what I know now. Reason number 3, and this one's gonna sound kind of morbid, but I have been working since I was 15. I'm 30. I have been employed. I have been unemployed. And I feel like I can confidently say I might have been better off if I was never born at all. Hear me out when I say this. Grinding in the workforce versus struggling outside of the workforce both come with so much suffering. Sometimes I wish my parents never had me unless they knew that they would be able to set me up in a life outside of the system. They birthed me into the system. They birthed me into the rat race. They birthed me into the matrix. And the idea of doing that to another human just doesn't sit right with me. One of the most painful things about existing is having a deeply ingrained passion and knowing exactly what you want to do with your life, but not having the necessary resources to execute. My dream personally is to open up a wellness studio, and I'm actively manifesting that. I'm actively taking inspired action. I'm saving money. I'm building my brand. I'm doing all the things that I need to do in order to open this wellness studio that is on my heart. But to be completely honest, the journey is a really painful one. Let me clarify, because I have so much to be grateful for and I don't want to sound ungrateful, but I am striving for entrepreneurial freedom. And even though I know I'm going to get there, the battle feels so strenuous and so uphill. Sometimes I get overwhelmed and I start feeling resentful of my parents for birthing me into such a diabolical rat race. I'm generally quite happy, but sometimes life feels like a hamster wheel of misery that you just can't escape. And I don't think anyone can deny that. It's part of the human condition. I know there are going to be people who think that I sound completely entitled, like a spoiled brat who expects to have everything handed to her by her parents. And I'm not saying that at all, but here's the reality. I did not ask to be here. They chose to bring me into existence and then sent me off into a diabolical rat race. I wouldn't want my future kid looking at me kind of sideways because of it. But part of me also just wishes I had smaller dreams so that it would be easier for me to just feel content with where I'm at, and that it would just be easier for me to conform. If I could conform to the system and stop having such big dreams, I could just be content. But I do believe in the law of attraction, and I am trying to create something bigger and better for myself in this lifetime. Truth be told, it gives me existential dread when I think about this. And then I realize I wouldn't be facing these thoughts or feelings at all if I was never born, because I wouldn't know better. And I wouldn't know what I was missing out on if I was never born. I believe in God, and I believe that our souls and consciousness are eternal. So if I was never born, my soul would just be floating around in heaven with the Lord already. And I wouldn't be dealing with any of this flighty emotional torture. Reason number 4, my family has a history of cancer. I personally have thyroid issues, PCOS issues, cortisol imbalance issues, anxiety issues, health issues that are totally genetic, and I could very well easily pass them down to my child. And I can own it. I can admit that my genes aren't great, and I'm completely fine with it if they end with me. Reason number 5, women of color are 3 times more likely to die during childbirth than white women. I so happen to be a woman of color. According to the CDC, women who are Black or brown are 3 times more likely to die during childbirth than white women. In medical spaces, my life is seen as less valuable, at least statistically speaking. But here's the thing. I actually would like to live my life. I'm happily married. I love my friends. I love my family. I don't necessarily want my life to be cut short because of a childbirthing issue. I love making art. I love writing. I love doing content creation. I love living in the city of Las Vegas. I love traveling to new places and creating new memories. I'm not exactly interested in seeing my life get cut short when there's so much more life that I would like to live. And statistically speaking, there's a higher probability of my life getting cut short because my life is seen as less valuable in medical spaces. Reason number 6, the actual process of childbirth itself is just far too gruesome for me. I've heard stories of possibly ripping to the back and women are leaking out of their chocolate star. I've heard stories of women ripping to the front and losing all sensation, all pleasure, and never being able to have an orgasm again. I've heard stories of how risky epidurals are because if they're inserted incorrectly, you could have full body paralysis for the rest of your life. I have a massive phobia of doctors, needles, medical appointments. It just sends me into a frenzy of panic. And when you're pregnant, you are constantly being poked and prodded with needles. And in some cases, doctors have to put a glove on and put their entire hand up there. And I'm sorry, that's just not something I can handle. I've seen the visuals of childbirth, and I know that it makes the area between a woman's legs look like a volcano. It terrifies me. I think it's a really powerful, amazing thing for women who do choose to do it. I'm just not one of those women. Reason number 7, and this one is very personal to me, so it might not resonate with everyone, but I had a little brother growing up who I helped raise. I feel like I was able to assuage a lot of my natural motherly maternal urges during that process. I would change his diapers. I would soothe him while he was crying. He would fall asleep on my chest with his little head right here, right in the nook of my neck. And I would hold him right here and he would fall asleep on me all the time. I feel like I really did scratch that itch growing up with my younger brother. When I was 22, I also dated an older guy who had a child. And that experience was really stressful to me to the point where I feel like it really did solidify for me that I don't know if I want to have a kid of my own. And to top it all off, I have such an extensive work history working with children that I feel like I got completely burnt burnt out. So I started working with kids when I was in 8th grade, volunteering in the 4-year-olds room at church. And I was in charge of watching the kids while their parents were in service. Then through high school, I was working as a lifeguard and aquatics instructor, where I was constantly in classes with kids, teaching them how to swim. And then when I got to college, I was working in different daycares and different childcare centers where I was constantly taking care of children. The one resounding thought I always had was relief that the parents were going to eventually come pick up these kids soon enough. And this was a temporary job, and this wasn't a 24-hour responsibility for me. Working in childcare is extremely stressful, but you know that you're going to be relieved of your duties. Whereas with parents, there's no relief. You are a parent forever. 24 hours of the day. You are always a parent, and there is no relief. Being a parent is a never-ending full-time job. And having so many experiences with kids, from my little brother to my ex-boyfriend's child to all of my childcare jobs, I feel like that was really eye-opening for me. Reason number 8, a study was conducted a few years ago to find the happiest subgroup of humans, and unmarried child-free women were considered the happiest subgroup of humans according to the GSS, which is the General Social Survey. I'm personally married. I'm very happy to be married, but I'm also very happy to be child-free. Psychology Today also released their take on the topic and highlighted the fact that unmarried child-free women are an extremely happy group of women. And one of the reasons that they stated this is that women who don't feel pressured to settle down right away because they feel that their biological clock is ticking and they need to find a husband ASAP so that they can have kids before their eggs dry up. Those women get to really take their time and choose the partner of their dreams. They get to choose a partner who's romantic, thoughtful, kind, considerate. They don't feel like they're in any type of rush against their biological clock. And so they get to really experience romance and love for the romance of it all. It has nothing to do with racing this biological clock to have a child. So I feel like I personally got to experience that, knowing that I wasn't in a rush to have a kid. I knew that I could really date around to find the right person for me without any added layers of pressure. If I was racing against my own biological clock, I would have wanted to settle down with one of the exes I was dating before I turned 25, and that would have truly ruined my life if I did that. I got to wait a little bit longer. I got to take my time and meet my husband, who treats me like a true and genuine princess. Reason number 9, I'll keep this short and sweet. I love my sleep. I cherish my sleep. Sleep is so important to me because I have struggled with insomnia off and on over the years. And so when I get a good solid night of sleep, that is a huge win for me. And if anyone interrupts my sleep, you are on my list. Having a baby means I would be sacrificing my sleep for at least the first couple of years. And I feel like I would probably get a little bit resentful of that kid, even though it's not their fault, but simply for the fact that they're interrupting something that I cherish so much, which is being well rested. I feel like people don't always discuss the importance of being a well-rested human. When you are well rested, it's easier for you to be a nice, kind person in the world. And that's because you can't pour from an empty cup. If you're a drained, depleted, exhausted, depressed human, how can you positively connect with the world around you? I know that you can always hire a night nurse to handle that, but I personally just feel like that's an expense that I would rather put towards traveling or doing anything else that's fun. Reason number 10, we live in an evil world filled with sociopathic murderers, diseases like cancer, AIDS, MS, a corrupt government, homelessness, poverty, global warming, terrorism, racism, sexism, homophobia, pollution, violent war, pandemics, a failure of an educational system, plus 1,000 other problems. The world is evil, and I do not feel comfortable bringing a child into it. I feel like that would make me complicit. It just doesn't feel ethical. Life comes with pain, no matter how you slice it. Based on all the times in my life that I've gone through bouts of hopelessness and depression and sadness, I just don't think I'd want to inflict that on another human being. I'm not saying that life doesn't also come with beauty and bliss and happiness, but life is painful. That is part of the human condition, no matter how you slice it. There's no way that you can forever shelter and protect the child that you birth on this planet to completely keep them out of harm's way and completely prevent them from feeling pain. They will feel pain. I know that this is something parents have widely across the board accepted as part of parenthood and raising kids. I just don't think that's an experience I personally want to have. Women have historically been sold this prepackaged lie, starting with Disney princess movies, that we need to get married and have kids. And I am here to debunk that myth. It is not true. We can live very happy, fulfilling, robust lives even if we never have children. We are not a wasted womb just because we choose not to have children. I have been called a waste of a womb before, and I am here to say I literally don't care who thinks that about me. I quite literally could not give less of a who thinks that about me, and I'm going to scream it from the rooftops. Women deserve more. Women deserve better. Women deserve to know that we are not incubators who were put on this earth just to have children. We are allowed to opt out if we want to. It is okay. I really hope this video didn't come across as too dark. I'm still always going to be the first in line to congratulate my friends and family when they have a pregnancy announcement. Being child-free by choice forever is my own personal choice. That doesn't mean I'm judging other people who choose to have kids. I want everyone to do whatever it is that makes them happy in this lifetime. Thank you for watching.